Hello. Okay, in 1906, a company called the Gramophone and Typewriter Company came to London, not really London, from New York. They came and bought a field in Hayes, which was then about 2 days' travel from central London, 15 minutes now from Paddington. And in 1906, it was a village, and 1,500 people lived there. And they built this really fast. In about 2 or 3 years, they built this. In 1930, it looked like this, and 10 years later, 22,000 people worked at this site. So you can imagine how that town grew incredibly fast through design, because that's what they did in this place. They produced design and manufactured products. Grew a whole town, grew universities, grew colleges, grew doctors' surgeries and police stations and fire stations, and this is what they did. This picture was taken in 1930. They built wooden boxes, very beautiful pieces of furniture, inside of which they put gramophones with the big trumpets on the top. Very highly skilled people who made very beautifully designed products, very, very expensive. And it took off like a rocket. They also, the innovation and design of this company meant that over time they developed into electronic music playback equipment, and in 1930 it became a company called EMI. And the factory in Hayes grew and grew and grew. They made radios, they developed television, they developed the radar in the war. All men in one room, all women in another room, designed for some purpose, I know not what. Vinyl started to be produced and pressed in the factory, and through the 1960s they pressed every Beatles record that was ever manufactured in Europe on the site. And this is a very close-in picture, but hundreds and hundreds of all the women sitting in a room stuffing the records into sleeves. This is what it looks like now, because in the 1970s, when they stopped pressing records and didn't make CDs, and through the 1980s, the factory just died and closed down, and the town died with it. 4,000 people were made redundant from this place in 1983. We bought this site 3 years ago, and we have an attempt to turn it around and bring manufacturing back. So, we call it the old vinyl factory because that's what it was. The previous owners called it the London Gate Business Park, and they decided to look at all of those beautiful buildings where the gramophones were made and call them building number 1, building number 2, and building number 3. It looks like this. It's absolutely the most spectacularly amazing place. This was the old power generating plant on the side, and now it's called the powerhouse. This is property developer porn, by the way. This is what I get out of bed for every day. I'm going to show you, when the slide flicks on, to some more buildings on the site that we call the record store, because it was the building where all the records were stored and shipped out to the world. This is the cabinet building, because it's the building where they made those beautiful cabinets in the pictures that you saw in the 1930s. And so through, as a property developer, I'm a creative director of our company, through employing designers and creatives to help me shape this place and turn it back into an economically and socially productive place. Like this, we put a cafe straight away into our site, covered the walls in 7-inch singles that were pressed on the site, in order to just start immediately to bring back some sense of what used to be there on this place that is now so terrible and dead and buried. So it's starting to come alive again. We gave the people who work there, about 300 people who currently work in a little corner of the site, been there for about 10 years, very lonely and sad. Not quite far away from the town centre, so we gave them some bikes so that in their lunch hour they can get on a bike and cycle up to the town and do their lunchtime shopping. They've got nice big baskets on the front so they can fill it with their shopping. This was the previous owner's marketing suite, a very beautiful building that's very attractive to people coming to the site, understanding the history and connectivity of the site to the town, its connection to design and history and manufacturing. Most uninspiring little building I've ever seen. So we got hold of it, and it now looks like that. And this is our little home on site, where we invite people to come and talk to us about creativity and design and manufacturing and good stuff. So in this building, we have a very vibrant program of talks and music and sounds. We've run a series of debates with Radio 1 about the future of the music industry. There they are, talking. Will Self opened it and came and did a whole day with Brunel students and people from the town. Because in a place like this, where you're trying to change the world back again to something that it used to be, you have to do a lot of talking and designing and thinking, and you need a creative place to do that. So the first thing we did on site, open our creative place to do that. We've been making music again on site. So these boys in their skinny jeans come and they play acoustic sets in the old buildings where the records were pressed. and we put them up to a website. It's called the Old Vinyl Factory Sessions. There are about 25 or 30 bands up on the site now. There it is. And it's getting quite a lot of attention because, again, it's about leveraging creative industry to start to share ideas about what was and what could be. Haven't designed a single thing on site yet, just ideas. So a very good place to start. That's what we're going to do, turn it back into some semblance of what it was, a very dense site full of buildings where there's going to be all kinds of manufacturing creativity going on again on the site. So our big objective is to put manufacturing back in the old buildings. So you'll see that the old buildings here are retained. Some pictures of what it might look like when we've finished with it. It'll be offices, it'll be manufacturing, it'll be places for people to live, places for people to go out in the evening, so that we're not just making a big factory, we're making actually a place that's in a town centre. Very, very important, because we don't want in our world to segment people. In the 1970s, the CAT scanner was invented at the music company in Hayes because television turned itself into airborne radar, turned itself into CAT scanning. And so design and manufacturing made a music business turn itself into a hugely successful medical supplies business. And so to use a football analogy, 30 years of hurt, when this closed down, manufacturing's coming home. And at the end of next year, we'll be opening in partnership with Brunel, the Central Research Laboratory, which is the renaissance of the R&D lab that was on the site that created all those fantastic design products. Will open again, funded by the GLA, £11 million, to bring manufacturing back to Hayes.